What's up, everybody? This is K Cartoon. I'm one half of the Hanging With Apes podcast, and this is a culture corner where we review culture. I'm rolling solo today. My co-host RX isn't with me, but we need to knock out this Ben Shapiro book review. We've been saying we're going to do it. We haven't been able to do it. So we got to do it. Got to get it done. I think he's almost finished, so maybe on Tuesday's episode, we'll briefly go over some more and maybe get his perspective of the book review. But in the meantime, got to put this video out. So Ben Shapiro's book just came out recently, The Right Side of History: How Reason and Moral Purpose Made the West Great. And essentially what the book is about is how reason and moral purpose made the West, Western civilizations, great in terms of growing economic progress, technological progress, family, community, happiness. And that's a big theme in the book, the pursuit of happiness. We've heard it before. We've heard the phrase, we've heard the terminology. It's in the Declaration of Independence, the pursuit of happiness, and how indeed happiness is a pursuit. Now, I think that's one of the issues and one of the problems with today, that a lot of people look at happiness as a destination rather than a journey, rather than a process. But the reality is that it is a process. It is a journey. It's something that you constantly have to do. Excuse the Chicago potholes. We're in Chicago. The potholes are awful. Anyway, because I'm doing this in the car. Obviously, the people that are watching the video, they see I'm doing this in the car, but the people that are going to get the audio of this, you won't be able to see that I'm in a car right now. But yeah, this is taking place in a car. Anyway, so yeah, happiness is a process. It's not a destination. It's a journey, which is important because it should be one of those things that you're constantly working on. You know, you should never feel like I've made it, I've reached it, I'm content. Not to say you shouldn't have a level of contentment in your life as it currently stands, especially if you have things going in the direction that you want them to go and everything. Not to say that whatsoever. I think that's important, but don't get complacent. Don't get satisfied. Keep working. Keep it up. It's very important. So that's a big theme in the book. But moreover than that, he talks about how to achieve, or at least from his perspective, how to achieve true happiness. And that's where the book gets really interesting, and it breaks down a lot of these old tenets from some ancient history and ancient philosophy that he feels should be applied more so today, and we're seeing less and less of it. So a good example of that is this idea that while we may be progressing economically, if we're not happy, if we're not virtuous, if we don't have some degree of spirituality, we won't be fulfilled. We won't be content. We won't. Now, granted, like I just said previously, not to contradict that point, that you should never be 100% content, but it's one of those processes that as you get better, as you advance, you feel it more and more, and you feel fulfilled. You're living a fulfilled life. And how he gets to that place, and what he believes is that if you have three things working cohesively, you will find yourself in that place also. And the three things are religion and spirituality, Greek telos, and capitalism. So the religion and spirituality aspect, it's essentially about, the belief in God, the belief in something greater than yourself, being spiritual. I'm not a very religious person, but I am a very spiritual person. I believe in God. I have a relationship with God, and that's kind of where I live with it. And it's perfectly fine, because he's an Orthodox Jew, but he talks about Christians and them being able to to have the same thing. So it's not necessarily about a specific religion or anything like that, but it is about the belief in God. Second thing, Greek telos, which essentially is like the pursuit of something purposeful and virtuous. So what's the meaning of your life? Like, what are you striving for? And whatever it is that you are striving for, is it worthwhile? Is it good for you spiritually, good for the people around you? And, you know, are you able to operate and conduct yourself in proper order as you pursue it? And then thirdly, capitalism, which, what are you creating? What are you producing? What are you making for the benefit of society and those around you? What's so interesting about those three tenets working cohesively is that they all have something in common, and what they have in common is that your will and your self-esteem comes secondary to those tenets. So if we're talking about spirituality and religion, your will and self-esteem comes secondary to the will of God. If we're talking about Greek telos, purpose, virtue, your will and self-esteem comes secondary to your purposeful and virtuous pursuit. And then obviously with capitalism, if whatever you're creating and producing, your will and self-esteem comes secondary to that. And that's pretty interesting, because we have all these people out here today that's like, they're all about, oh, well, I'm so special, I'm so this, I'm so that. But it's like, what have you done to be special? What have you created? What are you pursuing? What do you believe in that makes you so special? Or you're just special because you exist. So that's very, very important, according to the book. And I believe it too. Like, I think the book is amazing. It's a wordy, definitely a wordy book. And like, if you're not interested in history and sort of long-winded explanations of things, you may not necessarily like the book. But it's a very purposeful and meaningful book, and that's very, very important. And I think a book like that is very needed, because it's not so much about like the economic progress of things. While, like, you know, the founding fathers and these foundations founded this country, and like there's been a lot of economic progress, it's about the happiness aspect. It's about this idea that, like, right now there's an opioid epidemic that's causing more people to die from it than car accidents. Divorce rates are through the roof. People's unhappiness is through the roof. Depression, pills, drinking for the wrong reasons. Because obviously, like, drinking, you can drink for the right reasons, like if it's a social setting or a celebration and people are conducting themselves responsibly. But we're seeing more and more drinking in terms of like trying to self-medicate. So all of this stuff that is covered, and his thoughts on it revolve around this idea that, well, you know, we're so economically advanced, but yet, you know, people are unhappy. You know, people have TVs in every rooms in their house, and phones and cars and all these things, but it's still not resulting in people being happy. And it's true. And so this is his journey into figuring out why that is and how to remedy that. So I feel like it's definitely worth a read. I think it's a perfectly timed book with a lot of what's going on today and a lot of what people are going through. And I think it'll be good and interesting to see how people gravitate towards this book and how years down the line this book is remembered, you know? So I think that's important. But yeah, so that's pretty much like my overview of the book. I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. We might go over it a little bit more on Tuesday's episode. But if not, you know, you got this review with one half of the Hanging With Apes podcast. And remember, we drop an episode every Tuesday on all major podcast platforms. If you want to listen to some really good rap and hip-hop music, go to any major music streaming platform, type in Audio Apes, our catalog will pop up. And as my co-host always says, it truly is the best. And and then follow us on social media, Hanging With Apes, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff. And let's get the dialogue going. Feel free to drop a comment and obviously subscribe and hit that notification bell to be notified. I'm out. Peace. Hey, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please remember to subscribe, hit the notification bell to get notified, share this with all your friends, and tune into the weekly Tuesday podcast on Apple, Google, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and all other major podcast platforms.